Do you remember when phones had cords? When cameras used film? When the milkman actually delivered milk to your door? These weren't ancient history. This was your life. And it's all gone now. Welcome to When Time Stood Still. I'm your host, and today we're journeying through 50 rare photographs capturing something extraordinary. The final moments before the world you knew disappeared forever. This is the last time we ever saw these. These aren't just old photos, they're your memories. Frozen moments from a world that's vanished, but you still remember. Let me ask you something. Do you remember the last time you used a payphone? Dropped a quarter in the slot, dialed the number, waited for someone to pick up? For most of us, that moment passed without ceremony. We didn't know it was the last time. We just stopped needing them, and now they're gone. That's what happened to over 100,000 elevator operators in the 1960s. Maybe you remember them. The person in the uniform who'd ask, "Which floor?" and pull that brass lever. Then one day you noticed the elevator was automatic, and that person never saw them again. Or think about the telegraph. If you're old enough, you might remember your parents or older relatives talking about telegram deliveries. For 70 years, it was how the world communicated instantly. Birth announcements, death notices, urgent news. Then the telephone took over. Within 50 years, telegraph went from essential to a museum piece. You probably witnessed some of these transitions yourself, and you didn't even realize you were watching history end. Remember Blockbuster Friday nights? Walking those aisles, picking movies, hoping the new release wasn't already rented? That was real. That happened. And now, it's gone. Completely. Remember when you had to get film developed? Dropping off your roll, waiting days to see if your photos turned out okay? That nervous excitement picking up the envelope? Or remember phone books? Those massive yellow and white books that showed up on your doorstep every year? When's the last time you even saw one? These weren't ancient traditions. You lived through their endings. But here's what makes these photos special. They capture something you might have forgotten: the dignity in ordinary work. Work that seemed so permanent, so essential, until it wasn't. Your parents probably had jobs that don't exist anymore. Maybe your father worked in a factory that closed. Maybe your mother was a secretary using a typewriter and carbon paper. Maybe you yourself had a first job that no longer exists. And here's the thing. It's okay to feel nostalgic about this, not because the old ways were better, but because they were yours. They shaped who you are. Think about your first job. Was it at a video rental store, a record shop, a photo lab, a travel agency, an arcade? These places aren't just gone. They're incomprehensible to young people today. Try explaining to a teenager what a phone booth was for, why we needed someone to pump our gas, what a switchboard operator actually did. They'll look at you like you're describing medieval times. But you remember. You were there. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is depressing. Everything I knew is disappearing. But that's not quite right. Because progress gave us incredible things too. Would you really want to go back? No smartphones, no internet, no GPS, no streaming? Would you trade your digital camera for film and development costs? Would you give up online shopping to flip through catalogs again? Probably not. And that's okay. Progress improved our lives in countless ways. But, and this is important, it came with a cost. Not just lost jobs, lost experiences, lost rituals, lost connections that made life feel different. Remember the craftsmanship you used to see? The TV repairman who could diagnose problems just by listening, the mechanic who could tune an engine by ear, the librarian who knew exactly where every book was without a computer. These weren't just jobs. These were skills honed over lifetimes. And yes, machines replaced them, but something intangible was lost too. The human connection, the expertise, the pride of mastery. You know this feeling. You've experienced both sides. You remember the inconvenience of the old ways, waiting for photos, rewinding tapes, looking up numbers in phone books. But you also remember the richness, the anticipation, the human interaction. Statistics tell us that 65% of children today will work in jobs that don't exist yet. Sound familiar? Because many of you work in jobs that didn't exist when you were young. Website designer, social media manager, data analyst, IT support. These careers were science fiction in 1975, just like many of your childhood jobs are science fiction to kids today. So here's the real question. What will the next generation look back at us and wonder? Will they wonder why we had to drive cars ourselves? Why we went to physical offices every day? Why we carried separate devices for phone, camera, and music? Probably, and that's the cycle. Every generation thinks their way of life is permanent. You probably thought phone booths and video stores would always be around. They seemed too essential to disappear. You were wrong. We all were. And that's the beautiful, bittersweet truth of progress. But you know what doesn't disappear? Your memories, your experiences, your stories. That's why these photos matter. Not to make you sad about what's gone, but to help you remember what was real, what you lived through, what shaped your understanding of the world. Look at the faces in these images. You might recognize the expressions, the pride in their work, the routine of daily life, the assumption that tomorrow would be just like today. They were wrong too, just like we are now. You're living through this right now. Jobs disappearing, technologies becoming obsolete, ways of life fading away. The difference is, you've seen this before. You know how this works. You adapted when video stores closed. You learned to use smartphones. You figured out streaming services. You've proven you can handle change. And that's actually inspiring, because these photos remind us humans are resilient. You're resilient. You've already survived the death of dozens of technologies and traditions, and you're doing just fine. The world you knew, it built the world we have now. Those seemingly obsolete jobs and technologies, they were stepping stones, practice runs, foundations. Your first computer, your first cell phone, your first email address. At the time, they seemed permanent. Now, they're nostalgic memories. But those experiences made you who you are. They taught you adaptability. They proved you could learn new things. They connected you to both the past and the future. These 50 photos aren't just about what we lost. They're about what we experienced, what we remember, what we carry forward. So, yes, your world has changed. The payphones are gone, the video stores are gone, the jobs you had don't exist anymore. But you're still here. You survived all of it. And that matters. If these memories resonated with you, subscribe to When Time Stood Still for more stories from the world you remember. Hit that like button if you recognized yourself in any of these moments. And most importantly, don't let your stories die with you. Share them, tell them, keep them alive. Because time never stops, but we decide what we remember. Thank you for watching, and remember, when time stood still, you were there.